Hi everyone, my name is Sarah. Welcome back to Low-Sal-Life. I am so glad that you came back. This is part 2 of which lists to pick. Today we are looking at the Google hits. I searched salicylate diet and a whole bunch of lists generated. People get really frustrated when they pick a list and then they might eat the low foods and then they end up having reactions. Or they think that their diet's not working. Maybe their doctor told them to stay away from salicylates for whatever reason. They go home, they try it out, and they still have reactions. Well, that was basically me. I had done very well on a low salicylate diet, but then I was having reactions. I was eating Brussels sprouts and cashews and vanilla, and I had no idea that they have been retested into higher categories. Now, that might be variation within the species or variation with food processing or variation over 40 years. Maybe they've changed. I don't know why there's variation between the first set of tests and the new test, but there is, and we need to be aware of it in order to make good, well-educated decisions and what we feed ourselves or feed our kids, right? I made a website. It's called low-sal-life.com. And basically, it's just a great resource for myself. I made it for myself and for you to check out. I do have a list, a food product list, and it references basically the most important research articles on here. Malakar et al. 2017 and Swain et al. 1985. If you didn't watch my first video, it kind of explains a little bit about all the different types of research that go into how to live salicylate free and, how to make the best decisions possible. But I recommend that you do watch that video. If not, read the blog. It's a much more concise than I could ever be. So let's get into it. So again, these are the top hits for Google search salicylate diet, and we're going to be going through the different lists and why I think you shouldn't be using them, and kind of teach you how to be very critical of the information that you gather on the web and how to make good decisions for yourself and how to tell if whether or not, is a company or organization that is keeping their information up to date or just trying to take advantage of you or just accidentally putting foods in the wrong columns. And I don't think any of it's malicious. I just think a lot of it is just an oversight. But we don't want you to be an oversight. So that's why we're doing this. Let's get started. The number one result for Google is drugs.com, which generally I try and stay away from anything like drugs.com or WebMD or some of even Healthline, and they're somewhat okay. I try and just stay away from a lot of those top organizations, companies, those top companies. The reason why is because they're companies. They're not interested in your health. They're interested in making money. Anyway, drugs.com, I wrote pretty much a scathing review on them. And then when I was done, I noticed that they had updated their page. And so it was a little bit less interesting than I had planned for this video. But lo and behold, today when I went back, it has reverted back to the original article, and it's just so bad. We will look at that today. Drugs.com is the first low salicylate diet hit for Google search. Now I know some of that will change and it'll depend on where you are in the country, but it probably will show up at least on the first page. So it has all this information. It says avoid the following beverages like whiskey, vodka, and gin. Those are actually okay. Both they're very low to negligible in the Swain et al. Study, and I don't believe that they've been updated or tested since then. Now, of course, you want to pick a gin that doesn't have a lot of variety. The Bombay Sapphire East with black pepper in it is probably not the best option for you. But here it just says avoid completely. It should not be so limiting and explain that it's actually probably quite okay. Here it says corn and popcorn are okay. Those are actually medium on the medium list, and there's a lot of variation in corn. Corn starch doesn't have any salicylates in it. Corn flour or cornmeal is in the medium category, and then fresh corn with Malakar et al. Actually tested quite high. Peas also have been retested high for Malachar. They were low on Swain's study. These say that the following fats are okay. Cashews have also been tested high with the Malachar et al. I actually have an issue with cashews. I can eat 1 tablespoon of them only. I will use them in stir fries with cabbage and soy sauce, with either tofu or beef, but I cannot handle very many cashews, and it was very reassuring to find out that they actually do have quite a bit of variation, or are now testing primarily on the high side. Following fruits and juices made from these are okay. Grapefruit and lemon. Grapefruit is just flat out wrong. Grapefruit has never tested low. In 1985 with Swain, it tested it as a high food. I don't know where they're coming up with this grapefruit. I mean, maybe a little grapefruit essence in the sparkling water might be okay, but it's just wrong. Lemons have now retested high with the Malachar study. Mangoes and papaya are listed. I actually couldn't find either of these tested by Malachar or Swain or any of the other guys. If you ever find an actual value, please contact me through my website form. These are generally I believe the RPA and Fed Up listed as like a low medium, and that people can generally tolerate it. Rhubarb's been moved up to a higher list. I have never found anything for tangerines for an actual tangible amount. Moving on, asparagus has been moved up to higher. Carrots are actually somewhat okay. Green and wax beans, those have green beans now test high. This one was the one that killed me. If you're, greens, like, do you want to specify a little bit more? This here, spinach is a little bit variable. It used to be on a high list, now it's on the lower list. People didn't have issues with frozen spinach. But here, you can't just go pick up any lettuce you want. It needs to be iceberg lettuce. So just think about that. And squash, generally, I think squash was high. Yeah, squash is high. Baby squash was high. Swain butternut squash was high for Malachar. So this one here should not be in the okay to eat. Moving on, let's see. Pepper, not okay to eat. Please don't eat pepper. Vinegar is also, malt vinegar is okay. Maybe rice vinegar might be okay. Anyway, overall, if you are looking up the first thing for Google, drugs.com, worst list ever, please don't use it. Here's another one, healthline.com. This was my second Google return, and this one is actually not too bad. They get props because they provide research links, and it's good. So everything they have in here is good. They have a list. It doesn't show you what you can eat, it just shows you more so what to avoid. This is my number 4 Google return, food can make you ill, and if it was not for this woman, I would still be in pain and tired and ringing in my ears and having all sorts of reactions. So she, like I said, wrote the Salicylate handbook, and she has built out this website, and she is a legit researcher. I'm so grateful for her. I do want to say that she does follow the Swain et al. Study very strictly, and I would like to see some like little asterisks on here that say like some of these things have tested higher with Malachar et al. And maybe consider that they vary. She does speak from experience, so she can eat banana, she doesn't have reactions to lime. Like I said, she's had no issues with lavender in the past. But again, I would like to see it updated, or at least some asterisks saying that there's variation with these foods. This one, I died a little bit on the inside. So this is the ENT group, people that work with ear, nose, and throat. And I'm glad that they have information on salicylate sensitivity. This is one of those things, I don't think it was done intentionally or maliciously. I think that somebody that's just disconnected from this reality is building out these tools and resources for people. Now I'm just gonna go through the low or no salicylate. Here it says herbal coffees and teas are okay. That's not the case. First of all, it's decaf coffee is okay. and herbal teas, most of them are not okay. Chamomile tea was on the low list for Swain et al. For a really long time, but Malachar actually retested it as very high, or as a high item. And of course, dose kind of matters too. But still, I can't just go get like most herbal teas and drink them because they're going to have salicylates. This one is the one that killed me, low or no salicylate, and it says all spice. I'm guessing that's all spice, not all spices. Allspice is not low, and a lot of these are not low. Cayenne, chili, cinnamon, fresh herbs, garlic's been moved to the high list, Marmite, pepper, vanilla, and Vegemite. All of those need to move out of this low list. Like, those are not okay. Now, they might have an argument for dose. They need to specify that. Anyway, I'm not going to go through the rest of this. This is all like Swain et al. Lists here. But I'm just showing you that these are doctor's offices with bad information. This is another very popular list that I find often. I actually used it when I got started first. And it is by St. Joseph's Healthcare in London. And it is good. It follows Swain et al. 1985, but it hasn't been updated. And where they got all this information, you can go all the way to the bottom. They'll mention this salicylate sensitivity food guide. What this woman did, I think her name was Beth, she basically put all the Swain et al. Foods up for people to see and made a list herself. And this list her website has not been updated since at least 2011, I think was the last time I saw it. It was 2006 to about 2010 when it was actively updated, but it hasn't been updated since. St. Joseph's have come along and made a list based on her information, and they have not updated their list. St. Joseph's should put a date on when this article was published, because all we know is that it's a doctor's office putting out this information. It's got to be accurate and up to date, right? But it's not. It really needs to consider Malachar et al. And some of the more information that we've come across needs to be updated. All right, last one. You can check out my blog. I have a few others about most of these lists are good, and some of these are good, and that they're not all bad, but I'm just letting you know I'm going through the most popular and why you shouldn't use some of these. Diet versus disease, it's science-based, independent, and you can tell that it was last updated in 2019. That makes me very happy. That means that they've had the chance to both look at Wood et al. 2011, the 1996 article, and the 2017 Malachar, and their information they have here is good. And then you get down to the bottom and they've got these great infographics. Look at these. Okay, first thing, from a scientist's point of view, it has categories here, but it does not specify whether or not it's per milligram, milliliter. It doesn't specify what it is. After looking at it, I do know that it's Swain et al. Study because of the foods and how they're listed, but just know that per mass is really important when we're talking about these things. So they updated their article, but they didn't update their infographics. And the thing that people like to use on this website are the infographics, because that's what they can print and take out and go to the grocery store and go shopping, or make sure that they avoid when they go out to eat. A little disappointing that these haven't been updated. I hope that they update them soon. But that is really what I dislike about this site, is that they are actively updating it, but have not looked at the most recent resources. One thing that they do get points for is citing their sources. Look at that. That makes me happy. I think we're done. Like I said, there are a lot of websites out there, and I don't. Most of it just needs to be updated. The food lists. Some of them are just flat out wrong. I think that when people are just removed from what salicylate, when people are generalists, like I'm specializing in salicylate sensitivity, I'm going to know this stuff inside and out. if you're just, like a clinic and you deal with a whole bunch of different people that have all sorts of different issues, and you want to put some resources up, you're a little bit more removed from that, and so you're not going to be able to quickly spot like what is wrong with your list. So I do hope that if you are the owner of these websites, that you do update them. I am willing to post new blogs or make updates on my current blog about when websites do change and update their lists. So I'm not doing this to be against anybody else. I am doing this to make us all better. I want to see these websites improved or taken down if they've got bad information. I think that's it for now. Thank you so much for hanging in there and learning with me, and I just want to encourage you to keep with it. You're not alone. Like, we're gonna get better and healthy together, and it's just so great for I'm grateful for all the comments. Find me on Instagram and Facebook at low-sal-life, and I will see you shortly, maybe next week.